Hariom, sir.
Am I audible?
Yes, you're audible, sir.
Khana kha liya?
All good, sir.
Hi,
Namaste,
Pragya
Dr.
ji.
Namaste, namaste, Pranav ji. So I'm the host for today. Guru is not feeling well, so.
Oh, okay. Ankur is supposed to join the course this time.
Yeah.
Any instructions for us?
I'm so new to all this so far.
Everybody starts new. There's a saying, every expert was once a beginner.
Yep.
Pragya, any idea on how many people have registered for the program?
For the program, the course.
No, for this one, the
No.
webinar.
So I'll
Today's
let you
webinar.
know. And I'm seeing it complete time, which is like today is the 4th, right?
Yeah, we have 669 registrations for today's webinar. Very nice. Namaste and welcome everyone. Please put in the chat where you are zooming in from. Pragya ji is our host for today. I'm just helping out in the background.
Thank you, Uncle. Namaste, everyone. We'll get started in a couple of minutes. And in the meanwhile, Namaste, Maheshji, who's joining us from Toronto, right? Maheshji has joined us from Toronto. I have Suhasji from Bay Area, California, Shruti Pandey from Mumbai, Rahul from India, Sadashivji from Navi Mumbai, and we have Ritu Bajaj from Delhi, Sriram from Noida, India, Manan Jain from Vijayawada, have Rahul Matre from Dombivli, India, Anil Shankara from Hyderabad, India, Shruti Pandey, she's from, okay, I do not see the place where Shruti ji is from, Vinay Kirloskar from Mumbai, and Videsh ji also from Mumbai. So we have a lot of people joining us from India. Ayush ji again from Mumbai, Indrani Ray from Kolkata. Yes, Indrani ji, it is very hot here in India. Shashi Kharbanda from USA. We have Dhiren Shah from Indiana. We have Vinisha ji, I do not see where you're from. And we have Kishore ji from Gujarat, Viresh ji from Mumbai, Maharashtra, Captain Richa from India, Bastehal ji, he's from the US, and Shruti ji, I now see that you're from Mumbai. Suhas Kumar from Mumbai. So we have a lot of people from Mumbai joining us today, Dr. Pillai. So Chanakya in you, yes. This is a book that I think most of us have read. Vinisha ji from Mumbai, Ravindra Shenoy from Manipal, Shashank Tiwari from IIT Kharagpur, Brij Kishore ji from Panchkula, Rohit ji from Kochi. I think we are 2 minutes above time. Now, can we begin the webinar? So namaste, everyone. My name is Pragya, and I welcome you all to today's webinar, that is Chanakya's Leadership Principle. And the speakers today, we have Dr. Radhakrishna Pillai and Krishnan Pillai and Mr. Pranav Patel. Leadership is a subject or a topic that is talked about more often than not in many spaces, many settings, discussions, research, and so many more things. And as Dr. Radhakrishna Pillai has done an extensive research on Kautilya's Arthashastra, and he is going to present to us as to how Chanakya's Arthashastra is still relevant, or his leadership principles, or the principles that he kind of put forward are still relevant in today's time, in today's world, in different and various settings of maybe, you know, the corporate world, the universities, I think even the defense. That is what the one place where it is widely used, if I'm not wrong. So, and we have our speakers today, Dr. Radhakrishnan Pillai, who has done, as I told you, an extensive research on Kautilya's Arthashastra, and he's done his PhD from Mumbai University. He's the director of SPM Foundation and founder director of Atma Darshan Private Limited, and Chanakya Anvishiki Private Limited, which is a leadership training and mentoring institute. And he has been appointed as a deputy director of Chanakya International Institute of Leadership Studies. He has almost 25 years of combined working and business experience, well-known leadership speaker, author, trainer, and personal mentor. He's written almost 200 articles and papers for magazines, newspapers, and journals. And I definitely have read 2 books by you. And He has also represented India in various national and international conferences, including the World Philosophy Congress in Athens, Greece, Academy of Management, San Antonio, Texas, Indian Philosophy Congress, and he has also chaired sessions at Afro-Asian Philosophical Congress. We welcome you, Dr. Radhakrishnan Pillai. It's always a pleasure to host you, sir. And we also have Mr. Pranav Patel. Mr. Pranav Patel is the director at and CEO of Chanakya Anvishiki Private Limited. I'm sorry for misspelling that word. And a PhD research scholar at University of Mumbai and an expert in leadership training and mentoring. He has been involved in training leaders and aspirants from various fields. And he's also visiting faculty at the College of Defense Management, University of Mumbai. Indian Institute of Public Leadership and MIT School of Government. He has done extensive research on Kautilya's Arthashastra in a 6 months residential major research program at University of Mumbai. He's a certified financial planner and also has an experience of almost 8 years in banking industry, where he has worked in the capacity of associate vice president in banks like HSBC and Standard Chartered. He has received an Excellence Award along with an International Fellowship in Election Campaign Management from the University of Akron for the 2016 US presidential election. And he represents India and presented a paper on Chanakya's model of good governance, Yoga Kshemam, at first ever International Academic Conference on Yoga in New York, USA. And he has also presented a paper at the research conference organized by the Indian Council for Philosophical Research, that is ICPR. So welcome to you, Pranavji, and over to both of you. Let's take the webinar forward.
Am I audible? Namaste. Thank you, everyone from India, US, and other parts of the world for joining in. It's an honor to speak once again on Chanakya. The next 45 minutes, we'll be actually talking about what Chanakya has to offer from leadership perspective for the 21st century and how we can adapt. The session will be taken by me and Pranav sir. He himself also is a teacher of the courses that we conduct. So what I would do is that in the next 45 minutes, we'll go through this particular seminar. And of course, towards the end, we'll give you enough time to, ask questions, any comments, any things that you need to know much beyond this particular seminar. So with that, without wasting much time, let's deep down into the program for the day. And I would request Pranav sir to take over.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Pragyaji. Thank you, everyone. And welcome to this webinar, which we are doing on Chanakya's principle for the 21st century. This is the third webinar that we are doing with Hindu University of America. That is what, and this is the third batch, which is coming in.
Third quarter.
I'm sorry, ma'am.
The third quarter, yes, you're right.
Yes,
That would be the third quarter.
The third quarter, yes, this is the third quarter with the third program which we are conducting with Hindu University of America. A very interesting program, yes, and glad to see that there are people joining in from all across. I saw someone joining in from London as well. So not just making US and India, there are people joining in from everywhere. There's Amit joining in from Australia. Wow, what's the time there? Interesting to see people joining in. So pleasure having you all here. So this is the program that we are here for, Chanakya's leadership principle for the 21st century. What are we going to do is we'll run through a little bit of introduction, because every one of us have heard the name Chanakya. We have heard what different things about him in terms of, he was a leadership guru, he was the kingmaker, he was a strategist, he was an economist, multiple things. But then what did he do? Who was he? Why do we talk about him today? And why do we regularly are able to do a program like this, where people want to know more and more about what work Chanakya had done. So let's first look into that kind of work which he has done. And then we'll take up a couple of sutras and example to see how these principles of Kautilya Arthashastra, principles given by Chanakya, which is there, are still relevant in present day, and how can we use them in our day-to-day daily life. So that is what we all are going to look into in this webinar. We'll take another half an hour to look into the question, the webinar, the presentation, and probably open up for another 10 minutes towards the end for question and answer sessions. During the session as well, if you have any questions, I request all of you to just type down in the chat box, in the question and answer box, and we'll try and respond to you during the session. So that's what we all are here for. Let me bring up the first slide, and then let's look at the first part of the session where we want to cover these points and look into basically who was Chanakya, what did he do, when did he live, why is he a legend? There are a few questions which we want to try and understand, a little bit of background about him, and then we also look into background of his works. So first of all, who was he, when did he live? So what history tells us? History tells us few things about Chanakya, and yes, these are the three names he is known by. So I would have mentioned Kautilya Arthashastra as a word, and you might be thinking, who is this Kautilya now that we've been talking of Chanakya? But it's the same person known by three different names based on his age, or I would say the kind of work which he has done. Vishnugupta is more of the given name, as we say. The birth certificate had the name of Vishnugupta on that. Kautilya is more of the scholarly name which is there, because of which the works is known as Kautilya's Arthashastra. And Chanakya, obviously the claim to fame name which is there, Chanakaputra Chanakya. That name comes in because of his father, who was also an acharya of political science, and his son. So Chanakaputra Chanakya, the son of Chanak, known as Chanakya. That's how this three names comes in. Quickly looking into the next part of it in terms of why do we still talk about him even today, so a few things which is there. So he vowed to pull down the Nanda dynasty, that vow which he had taken to pull down Nanda. Dhananand was the king at that point of time, an evil king, I would say, a person who was not governing the kingdom in the right manner. There were a lot of malpractices happening. And then Chanakya comes in, and in fact, Chanakya was one of the victims, because his father, Chanak, whom we spoke of, was also somewhere, I would say, killed, because he was the one who raised voice against this misgovernance which was happening. And that's why Nanda, the Dhananand, who was the king at that point of time, arrested him, and the story says that he was probably killed in the jail as well. So that's when Chanakya takes that vow that, this is the king which is not governing the kingdom in the right manner. We'll see also a few things going ahead in terms of video, but then that's where he took that vow. It is very well known because of the way he took the vow, and in our culture, there is always some or the other thing which we connect to when we take some kind of vow in our life. So Chanakya is known because of his shikha, the ponytail which he has, Brahmins have, and he took up that vow. He says, I will not tie this shikha till the time I bring down the Dhananand. So it's like a vow, Vishwa Pratigya is also another thing. I will not do certain things till time. So that's what Chanakya took a vow, and that's the story attached with that, which all of us would have heard of. Second thing, known as the kingmaker of Chandragupta Maurya. So not only he brought down the evil king, but he also installed the right king in place, the righteous king who was trained by him. And he says, this is the model, this is the right kind of king who should be there. And Chandragupta Maurya was his student there. The third thing, one of the things which he should be more famously known for, and that's how he is known for, I would say, more in Europe, is because he was the one who was responsible for defeat of Alexander in India. When Alexander the Great, as we call him, because obviously he was a great warrior, when he was out to conquer the world and traveling east from Babylon in that days, and today we can say Greece, he was traveling east, covered all of the West Asia, the Middle East part of the world, and came to India. And that's when Chanakya, along with other kings, was standing there strong, fighting along with those other king and united army. And Alexander, the great conqueror, lost, and he was forced to return back to Babylon. And there's a lot of work available. You can see History Channel and other documentation which is available on the same as well. So yes, Alexander the Great was defeated by Chanakya, and so great, someone who defeated the great. In fact, sirs a lot of times says, "Jo jita wahi Sikandar," lekin jisne Sikandar ko haraya wo Chanakya. That's the kind of thing we can talk about Chanakya in that context. Apart from that, obviously, Ashoka, India's first global emperor, as we say. When we say global emperor, is someone who has his influence across the world. right? And Ashoka created that influence through soft power of Buddhism in that point of time. Today also, if you go to Japan, if you go to Australia, you go to United States, everywhere we see the religion of Buddhism seeing its footprints somewhere or the other. And Ashoka was the one responsible for this. And why do we talk of him here? Because obviously Ashoka was trained by Chanakya again, grandson of Chandragupta Maurya. Chandragupta Maurya's son was Bindusara, and Bindusara's son Ashoka was the one whom Chanakya trained, and we talk of. Apart from this, he not only did all this in practicality, but he also documented it. Or I would say he not only just wrote documents, but he also executed and created something in physical. So, but then how did he document it? Three things, three books which he is known for, which he has written. First, Kautilya Arthashastra, obviously a great treatise, Chanakya Niti, and Chanakya Sutrani, or Praniti Sutras as the other name which it is called by. So the three treatises which he had written. I will quickly go into these three treatises, three books which are there, and then I will ask Sir to share his thoughts as well. So here it is on your screen. This mind map talks of that. Happened in 4th century BC. So we're talking of 2,300 years back from when this particular thing happened. Kautilya Arthashastra, that is the book which we have been talking of, has 15 sub-books in that. So it's Kautilya Arthashastra. I use the word, it is just not a book. It's an encyclopedia in itself, has 15 different books within them. Within it has 150 chapters, 180 divided into 180 sections out there, and has almost 6,000 sutras in that which are there. Second thing, the one which is very well known, of us would have also got a chance to somewhere read it, the Chanakya Niti. Chanakya Niti is another book. It is more written from the perspective of society or citizens. Arthashastra was more written from the perspective of governance. So that was more focused as a literature for the prince who's going to become king to refer to. Only once you become the king, also go back and refer to certain things. So that is how Kautilya Arthashastra was written. Chanakya Niti was more focused towards citizens, towards society, towards seeing how an ideal society should be. It has 17 chapters in that and 455 sutras as well. So this is what Chanakya Niti is about. An excellent book. Everyone should read Chanakya Niti. At least it's a one sitting read. You can just sit and browse through it and quickly you'll be able to finish that. So I would advise to everyone at least to read Chanakya Niti. If not, you can read Kautilya Arthashastra. And the third thing which is written is Chanakya Sutrani. 6 chapters in that, one-liners, powerful one-liners given by Chanakya in that. Sukhasya Moolam Dharmaha. This is the first sutra which comes, just one line, which is if you want to be sukha, if you want to have sukha, if you want to be happy, you have to follow the dharmic path, right? And then he says Dharmasya Moolam Artha. So basically, which he says if you have to follow the dharmic path as well, there is Artha, which is the base of that. So it goes on and on and on. But these are one-liners, powerful one-liners which have been given by Chanakya, and that is what is called Sutrani. This is what I would say a little bit of insight into Chanakya's writing work. We'll get into details of Kautilya Arthashastra because that is the book which we are focusing on from the leadership perspective. But before I go in there, I would ask Sir to please share a few thoughts as well. Sir, please.
Thank you so much, Pranal sir. In fact, if you look at all that work that Chanakya has done, I would go back to say that his life itself is an inspiration. What he did by defeating Alexander, by creating Chandragupta Maurya. And of course, the greatest contribution was writing of his own books. You can see 3 of them here, Arthashastra, Chanakya Niti, and Chanakya Sutrani. Imagine the person is gone, but its wisdom has continued to inspire generations forever. Even today, when we are doing this particular seminar globally, what is interesting is that if Chanakya had not written, we would have not had this seminar. It's very important to know that each one of us should write down something before we go. In this world, there are more dead people than those who are alive. In this world, there are more dead people than those who are alive. We may say, there are whatever, 8 billion people globally, that's all fine. But imagine how many generations, how many people have come and gone. But very few people are remembered as legends. And the best way is to document your success for the generations to come. So friends, as we're going ahead to understand some of these ideas of Chanakya, I want to tell you just one thing which is common in all his writings, and that is called Sutra. You must have seen Chanakya Sutrani, Kautilya Arthashastra has got 6,000 sutras, Chanakya Niti has got sutras. What is a sutra? Sutras are, condensed wisdom in a very short form. And that's how our rishis, our great teachers were. For example, all of us learned about Einstein's theory of relativity, right? And simply translated E is equal to mc square. And our wisdom also says if you can make it short and crisp, it's easy to remember. So sutras are very highly concentrated wisdom, and each one of us can decode it and apply it. So it's not just theory. We'll see as we go ahead today. So friends, if you look at Rama and Mahabharata, all of them have different small wisdom nuggets. So imagine we are only going to take one book among all the books for making you understand. And that book has got 6,000 sutras, or what we call formulas of wisdom and leadership. We'll focus on a few of them, but very important to know that this wisdom is relevant for not only our generations, but generations to come. Therefore, I remember when my book Corporate Chanakya was launched, one great scholar said this nicely. Chanakya's wisdom is not ancient, it is eternal. Chanakya's wisdom is not ancient, it is eternal. It was, it is, and it will be relevant. Remember, these are principles that don't change with time, but these principles guide you in every generation. Let's see a few of them. Over to you, Pranav sir.
Thank you, sir. I will just bring up the slides again. And yes, there we are. This is the three books someone was asking. Yes, Kautilya Arthashastra, Chanakya Niti, and Chanakya Sutrani. You all will get a recording of this particular session on your email post the session. So maybe in 48 hours, you should receive that once it is processed. So don't worry, you will be able to get this recording and you'll be able to refer to the presentation again. Going on next, as I said, let's look at Kautilya Arthashastra as the book which we are talking of, the treatise, which is on leadership we particularly focus upon. And it's known as a book on economics, statecraft, punishment, warfare, strategy. We can just go on and on and on and on. Arthashastra, I mean, because the West cannot translate things in the right spirit, I would say. They might translate it in the right words, but they don't translate the spirit when the Bhashantar happens. Arthashastra is usually been translated as a book on economics. And I would say it is not a book on economics. Economics is also a part of Kautilya Arthashastra, right? So yes, known as a book on economics, also on statecraft, so Rajaniti Shastra, which it is used, how to govern a kingdom. So the book on statecraft, punishment, Dandaniti, warfare, Yuddhaniti, and strategy, obviously, Anvikshiki. That is what Kautilya Arthashastra focuses upon. This is what you see in front of you on the screen is the original Kautilya Arthashastra, today available as on date at the Mysore University, Oriental Library in Mysore University, which is there. And you can go and actually see the Arthashastra, which is there. This was found by Shama Shastriji in 1905. When it was there, he was one of the curators, and I would say librarians in the Oriental Library then. But what is Kautilya Arthashastra? Let's go into more details. As I said, 15 books within the whole treatise which is there. And what are these 15 books? What does it focus upon? It basically starts in the manner where Kautilya focuses on the leader himself. He says, for the rest all will fall in place. First, put yourself in place. And it starts with the training of the leader, training of the prince who is going to be there. So concerning the topic of training, he starts with individual. He first makes the leader right, gets his attitude right, gets his grooming right, gets his learning right. That is where the first topic comes in, which is called Vinayadhikarikam, the first chapter, which is there. Post that, he further grows and he shows how the state has been set up. So he talks of different departments which are there in the state. I would say in today's context, we can say different ministries which are there in a government, different offices which are there in a government which are there. So he talks of different departments in a company. I would say there are different departments. There's sales, there's marketing, there's finance, there's operations, there's HR, there is IT. There are multiple departments. So Chanakya then focuses on that part of it. Now, when you have a system like that and the leader is there who has to govern this, he cannot just govern it. He has to have certain policies behind that and should have law and order to run it right. And that's where the topic concerning judges come into picture. And he says, run the kingdom in that manner, you have to have certain policies behind it. So some rules and regulations, certain bylaws which are there, right, in an organization, in a company. So that is where he goes in. And further, when you're running an organization in that manner, there are certain elements who are troublemakers as well, and how to take care of this troublemaker. So he goes into the next book, which is on the suppression of the criminals. And once, how do you suppress this chemical? Obviously, you see what is happening, but at the same time, you have your own information network. You have a network where you find out how are things happening, which you can see things which are not shown to you. Usually the leader gets a report, or leader gets a review done with his team. He gets certain things coming to him, but then how does he find out additional information, which is he wants to? So he has certain secret agents around us. The whole spying network is what Chanakya focuses and talks in out here. That's where the secret conduct comes into picture. And post that, he comes out and he says, yes, here is your whole system ready. Here is what comes in terms of the whole organizational structure, which we talk of in today's time. We say organizational behavior, organizational structure, which is there. So Circle of Kings basically focuses upon that. So from here onwards, book 6 onwards, Kautilya gives an outside in view. First, it was inside out, where he's saying the leader, then the departments, how to run through policies, so law and order, and then if something is going wrong, then you have suppression of criminal activities, and then also getting the information. So inside out view, and post here, he goes and says that here is your whole righteous kingdom, the kingdom which is very efficiently run in place. And then let's look at it from the outside. So that's where Circle of Kings come in. And once there's a kingdom, there's an organization, there's a company, I would say, there is also others who are there. There's another kingdom, right? So then how do you interact with others? So that's where foreign policy comes into picture. So the 6 measures of foreign policy, how to interact with other institutes, is what is focused in this particular chapter out here. And then it goes ahead concerning topics of calamity. So things go wrong at times, which can be man-made or which can be through nature. So in today's day, if we say we have to talk of a calamity, which very recently happened in India day before yesterday, is an unfortunate train accident which happened. Right, around almost 289 people have died in that accident. We call it a calamity. Something which was not supposed to happen has happened. Whether it is natural or man-made, subject of investigation which will happen, we'll get to know about it. But then that's the kind of thing which happen. There are things like floods which happen. There's things like tsunami happens, earthquake happens. So all these kind of things happen. Those are natural things which happen. But then there are man-made things also, right? Or maybe COVID was man-made. We don't know. So things like that, Chanakya focuses in this and concerning topic of calamities. Unforeseen event happens, and at that time, how do you respond to those is what this particular book focuses upon. Going ahead, that activity of a king about to march. So when you're ready, when you are in a warlike situation, you have to go and fight, you have to march. How do you prepare yourself? So how do you prepare yourself when there is a war? Then concerning wars, so actual strategies of war, when you are in war, then how do you fight wars? Different strategies of war, different methods of fighting wars. All that comes in this chapter out here. Then he goes ahead in the next book, he talks of policy towards oligarchs. Oligarchs is basically small group of people holding large amount of power. It is said the 1% of the world owns 1% of the humans hold 99% of the world's wealth. Right? Or we can say small group of people hold large amount of wealth, which is there. But that's always there. It's been a phenomenon. That's how the world has been. But then Chanakya says, how do you deal with them? How do you deal with the small oligarchs, small group who are super powerful? And how do you tackle them? Next, concerning the weaker king. So Chanakya, as we always say, he's just not an optimist or an idealist. So things are always nice, things will be nice, things no, he doesn't do that. He's also not an idealist who says the world should be like this, the world should be like that, right? He is a realist, and where he accepts the situation the way it is. So at times you might be the weaker one, right? The king, the leader might be the weaker one and facing someone stronger in front of them. How do you behave at that point of time? So he focuses on that, the time when you are weaker, the other is stronger. So here is a book which he talks of, is the concerning the weaker king. Post that, means of taking a fort. So when you're fighting a war, when you're fighting for certain things, and how do you go and capture a fort? In business terms, I would say how you go and acquire a company, or how do you merge a particular company? Because when you acquire a particular region, I would say even in today's time, if a country fights or acquires a particular area, which is, say, for example, Russia in today's time has gone into Ukraine, and that is a land which they have acquired. But then how do you integrate it with the main land? When you go and acquire enemy territory, it's not easy, because there are people who might be against you. There are people who might be troublemakers out there. So how do you integrate that into the main system? So he focuses on that part of it in means of taking a fort. concerning secret practices. So certain things which usually is not known by common people, and that is why we say Raja Vidya iti Guhya Vidya, as in Raja Vidya, the way of running a nation, a country, is a Guhya Vidya. It is a secret knowledge. Not everyone has access to, and he talks of certain secret practices which the leader does. And as we say, what happens when someone becomes a leader? The person gets something called as cohesive power. The power to force someone to do something. The government can force you to do something. The government can even use lathi charge on you. The government can even give punishment to you. So how does that happen? Because they have cohesive power. And then when someone has cohesive power to force someone, right, that's when there are certain secret things also happen. So that is what is focused in this 14th book, I would say. This is more or less the last book. Post that comes Tantra Yukti, which is more an excellent book. PhD research scholars and people in masters would know something that we always work on is called research methodology, or by bibliography. So Chanakya in this last book talks about how he went about writing Kautilya Arthashastra, what resources he had used, what timing he had written this particular book, and that all background he gives in this 15 books. And this is what is the last book out there. So a quick run through, the whole 6,000 sutras are covered in this 15th chapter, but then here I give at least and run through about the kind of topics which Kautilya Arthashastra covers and how they can be more or less relevant in corporate, in personal life, in political life, in different walks of life, as well from the leadership perspective. That's more of this. We'll go into more sutras, but then sir, few thoughts from you, please.
Thank you, Pranav sir, for a quick run through. Now just remember this, in the last 20 minutes, what did we do? We spoke about Chanakya, the person, and he wrote 3 books, and we just went into deep dive into only 1 book. And look at the dimensions he gives, right from how to select a leader, to training of a leader, to economics, to warfare, to strategy, to law and order. So this can go on. And there are a lot of questions coming in. We'll answer it towards the end, but quickly taking it. What is the methodology of the course? We'll talk about the course later on. But for all students who want to study Indian scriptures, like Arthashastra or any other scripture, there's a format, a methodology called Sutra Bhashya. So the scholar would write a sutra and somebody would explain that. That's exactly what happens in the education system also. So the textbook's ready and the teacher, he or she will explain that in the class with discussions. So this is not a new method. It has been practiced for generations. And Chanakya himself wrote the sutra and the bhashya in the Arthashastra. So many thoughts on leadership, so many dimensions of leadership. We'll see that as we go ahead. But very important, if you want to be a leader, in the 21st century, you cannot be a specialist. Of course, you can specialize in one field, but you should also be aware and be a multidisciplinarian. So you should know various disciplines. So I am a legal person, great. But how about finance and legal? How about HR and legal? How about all this put together? So we work with the corporate world, with the political world, with the armed forces, with the academia. This is all because Chanakya was all of them put together. So friends, if you start studying Chanakya, you'll start thinking like Chanakya. And definitely, he was a Rajaguru, and a lot of his thoughts become part of our thoughts. We'll see a few models and sutras as we go ahead. Thank you so much. Over to you, Pranav sir.
Thanks, sir. Thank you very much. And let's get into some proper meat in terms of knowledge which we want to acquire, in terms of some sutra. Let's do that. Let's bring up an interesting sutra. And I'm not going to go and bring the sutra immediately. What I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up something which is called a salutation. What Chanakya does is when he starts writing Kautilya Arthashastra, he gives salutations, right? When we start something, we say namaskaram, good evening, or when you start writing something, we usually have an auspicious thing which we write on top of the paper, and then we start writing, right? This is the kind of, I would say, custom which we all follow in the Indian culture. Right. So what Chanakya does when he starts writing Kautilya Arthashastra, he gives salutations, and this is a salutation which he writes. So as soon as we open Kautilya's Arthashastra, the first thing that comes in front of us is the salutation. What are the salutations? He says, Om Namah Shukra Bruhaspati Bhyam. Right. And these are codes, I would say. These are coded. Indians are very good at coding because we always knew how to put things into a format and present it. Now, here's a quote which Chanakya gives us, and let's try and decode that. What he says Om Namah Shukra Bruhaspatibhyam. Literal translation, if you put it, say Om, obviously auspicious, Namah, Namaskaram, Shukra Bruhaspatibhyam. Right? Shukra, obviously, who's Shukra? Shukra is Shukracharya, whom we are talking of here. Shukracharya is the guru of the Danavas, the devil whom we talk of, the person who is a teacher of the devil. And then Bruhaspatibhyam. Bruhaspati is obviously also known as Guru, or the teacher of the Devatas. Right? So these are the two people whom he does salutations to before writing Kautilya Arthashastra. And I would say let's decode and try and see, why did Chanakya, if we were to sit in front of Chanakya and ask him a question and try and think from his perspective and say, why would have he written this? This man wouldn't have written something just like that. There would have been a meaning behind that. So Om Namah Shukra Bruhaspatibhyam, he says, and this is how I interpret it, and everyone in our culture also has the freedom of interpreting it in their manner. He says Om Namah Shukra Bruhaspatibhyam, so giving salutations to the negatives and the positives, I would say. Right? Let's accept life holistically. A lot of people get, I call it spiritual overdose. And then they burst out after that. With so much focus, and then they go into spirituality, they lose out contact with the materialistic world. The holistic approach is what Chanakya talks about. But also, interestingly, one more point which comes to mind is, why is he giving Shukracharya importance first? Why the negative one first? And then the positive one. So I would say Chanakya always told us that, look at the negatives first. See what can go wrong, how things can get bad, and prepare yourself against that. So I would say it's called risk management as well, right? The whole risk management industry, whether it's financial risk, we talk of operational risk, we talk of sovereign risk, different kind of risk which have been identified. This is energy risk, we talk of the risk of things going wrong. Look at that first. Prepare yourself to face this things which is going to go wrong. We run something called as Monte Carlo simulation, if people are aware, with a little bit of data analytics and things like that. You run different scenarios, how things can go wrong, and prepare yourself against that. Right? It's like taking an insurance policy. The insurance business is also focuses upon it. If your car meets an accident, if you fall ill, if something unforeseen event happens and you lose your life, anything can happen. So in that, you secure yourself against. So first look at the negative, right? And then look at the positive. So hope the best thing happens. So prepare for the results which you want to, right? So what I would say Om Namah Shukra Bruhaspatibhyam indicates to me is, prepare yourself for the worst and hope for the best to happen. That's how we can interpret the sutras which are there, and we'll go and see more and more sutra and how we can interpret in present day context. Some thoughts from you, please, and then we go on to another sutra for the session as well.
Thank you, Professor. Remember this formula, that you are never the original creator of any knowledge. A lot of people today are, having IPs, intellectual property. Of course, you can patent it, you can copyright it, you will have a paper. But knowledge never begins with one person, including Chanakya's wisdom. Yes, it's very important to know that Chanakya never started all this wisdom all by himself. You learn from the best and make it better. You learn from the best and make it better. So Kautilya Arthashastra was not the first Arthashastra. There were many Arthashastras before him. Studied all of them. That's what a research scholar does, right? Studies all the previous knowledge available, then create his own theories, his or her own theories. So Chanakya studied lot of other books on leadership and governance available till his time. For example, these two acharyas, Shukracharya and Brahaspati, they were very prominent, and there are many others. And Chanakya refers to 14 such acharyas and then creates his own theory. Why is it important? Wisdom of the past can give you insight to the present. I'll repeat, wisdom of the past will give you insight to the present and also give you a direction for the future. So what Chanakya does is looking at all these perspectives, and you see there are two extremes. Shukracharya is guiding one team and Brahaspati is guiding another team. But you require both the perspectives. For those people who studied electrical engineering or electronic engineering, or basics of how electricity works. It's anode and cathode, right? The current is created when you have the positive and the negative, and both are required. In the same way, Chanakya takes in all the perspectives. A small joke over here, it's how you look at it. In fact, there was a criminal, a small criminal, not a very high level, but a petty thief, I would say, would always, get caught while he was stealing, and he would be taken to the judge. And the judge would give him some small, punishment, maybe for 2-3 days in the jail or prison and then go off. But he'll always repeat it. Finally, one day, the judge, seeing him again and again, got frustrated and asked him, have you done anything good in your life? Always stealing, हमेशा चोरी करता है. जिंदगी में कुछ अच्छा काम किया है क्या? Have you done anything good in life? He said, yes, of course. What? I have given you a job. So you exist because I am there. So we're not here to promote criminals. We're not here to say that the criminals give salary to the police department. No, but the idea is that they will exist and we have to be ready. So in governance, especially when you're a leader and if you're running an organization, you know this. You'll have all types of people, right? The good, the bad, the ugly, the smart, the lazy. And that's how leadership is. You have to deal with all of them. So Chanakya prepares you for the positive, the negative, and everything in between. Om Namah Shukra Brahaspati Bhyam. Thank you, Pranav sir.
Thank you, sir. So yes, that was a salutation which Chanakya gives us. During my talk on the 15 books of Kautilya Arthashastra, I spoke about that particular chapter where Kautilya gives us an outside-in view. He starts as an inside-out approach, which is that he talks of the leader himself. And when we go into Kautilya Arthashastra, we realize he goes to that internal part of the leader, and he makes those, I would say, more inside-out approach to leadership there. But in book 6, he gives us that outside-in view. What I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up that sutra, which gives us that outside-in view of an organization, which Chanakya talks of. Right? This is a sutra on your screen, which talks of, and it is known as Saptanga, the 7 pillars of business, we would say, or I would say an organization. In fact, Chanakya goes one step ahead. He says of nature. Sutra number 6.1.1, the number mentions which is book number 6, chapter number 1, sutra number 1. And sutra is Swami Amatya Janapada Durga Kosha Danda Mitrani Prakriteyaha. So what it actually means. Don't get scared by looking at this bigger sutra. We'll break it up. We'll break it into parts and understand that. And it means what? Swami Amatya Janapada Durga Kosha, Danda, and Mitra, which means the king, the minister, the country, the fortified city, the treasury, the army, and the ally are the constituent elements of the state. Kautilya Arthashastra was written for the prince who's going to be the king and going to run the state. That's why we use the word state here. But if you look at the Sanskrit sutra, it says Prakriteyaha. This is nature. Right? Let's get more understanding of the sutra and go in. So what he says first, Swami, the leader. As I said, he starts with inside out. First focuses on development of the leader. Is the leader right? That's where everything starts from. We say Raja Kalasya Karanam. What the leader is, so becomes the people, the population, his country, his praja. Right? So the leader is very important. Though it might be micro, it is very, very important. In fact, I would say the leader's view is like the compass in the ship. When you're riding a ship, and if you're a captain of the ship, for example, let's think of that. And instead of going 182 degrees, your ship is going at 183 or 84 degrees, 2 degrees apart from where you're supposed to go. Right? And then in that point of time, we'll say, "Arey, idhar 19-20 ka fark hai," as we say in India. Thoda bahut idhar udhar to chalta hai. Right? And imagine you travel 100 nautical miles, you'll probably reach a different country by itself. Right? So leadership is very important at that point. So Chanakya first focuses on the leader, the Swami, the person who gives the vision, gives the direction, the director, the CEO, the chairman, whomever we talk of, the person at the epitome of an organization. Second, he focuses upon Amatya, the second in command, the minister, the manager, the person who is responsible for execution. The leader draws the vision. We have to go and do this. Right? But people who are supposed to go and get it done are the ministers. Are the ones who will execute it for the minister. They'll make sure things are executed. Right? Then he goes into Janapada, obviously the people, the country, the praja whom we talk of, or in business context, as we say, the market, people whom you're going to go and serve, present your product to, give your services to, get votes from. I would say that is also a perspective of looking at it in a democratic manner when we talk. right? So Janapada, Durga, the fortified city, the head office, the infrastructure, the palace, or I would say the boundaries which are there of an organization, of an country, and different departments in terms of the warehouse which is there, different offices which are there. All that becomes the fortified city, Durga. What all comes inside that? Comes inside that is probably your computers which are there, your infrastructure, which is in today's time. We can't say the infrastructure is just physical. It is also digital. Hindu University of America, an amazing example. Such an excellent institution, runs virtually and really creating big impact in that manner, right? So we talk of Durga as fortified city or infrastructure in this context out here. Then goes in kosher, the treasury, the finance, account, money, everything to do with mullahs. So that is what he focuses right here. Danda, as in the army, the team, the people working on the shop floor, your admin team, the drivers, the peon, the people who execute, people who actually get things done, the army people, right? The volunteers who run in an organization, karyakartas is the word which we use at the point of time. So Danda he talks of, and obviously Mitra, the friend, the ally, people who are his friends, who work with him, right? They are people with whom they work together in a win-win situation. That's what we talk of. We can talk of vendors, your suppliers who are there in business, your other countries who are supporting you, part of an alliance, or in a political environment. Anywhere where you're aligning with people, where you're working together in a win-win situation, is where Mitra comes into picture. So this is a structure. I would say an MBA program can't cover anything more than this. You talk of marketing, you talk of finance, you talk of operations, you talk of HR, everything comes in here, which is there. So this is the financial structure. This is organizational structure which Chanakya talks of. Swami, Amatya, Janapada, Durga, Kosha, Danda, and Mitra. So outside in view of an organization. So a few thoughts from you, please.
So friends, this is one of the sutras, and we are giving a modern day interpretation of the principle. So we saw this was originally the 7 pillars of a kingdom. And we said, how can we apply this for modern day corporations or business? So here we see that. But remember, this is all about creativity and innovation. You can apply the same Saptanga in, let's say, an educational institution. For example, a Swami or a Swamini in a school. Let's take an example of a school. Will be like a principal. Amatya, the teachers. Janapada, students. Think about it. Durga, the physical infrastructure. Today also digital infrastructure. Kosha, the finance required for running the school. Danda, the support system, which we generally call as the non-academic staff or non-teaching staff. Mitra, the allies, like in our own HUA. We are also Mitra. So we come, we deliver. We have our whole team over here, which is of Amatyas and Danda. And Kalyanji is a Swami. So you see this, that all of us can interpret this in different way. In fact, we run this particular course and we'll be covering this in our course also on Saptanga. And you'll be surprised. There's so many interpretations that come in. So that, I can use this for event management. Think about it. How can I apply this in event management? I can use this in so many other formats. So it's a very creative model. So we just give you one example how the Saptanga of a Rajya can be applied as a Saptanga of a business. One very important point as we're discussing, remember, this was not created by Chanakya. This existed before him. In fact, in my own research, I found that this was there in Mahabharata. Bhishmacharya taught the same Saptanga in his own teachings of Rajaniti Shastra. And of course, Chanakya learns. And then I realized it is already before Mahabharata. It is there in Shiva Puran. So think about it. It's a legacy that continues. And of course, today we are looking at from a business scenario. So friends, this is one example of time-tested knowledge, one sutra of Saptanga applicable and relevant for generations to come. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So yeah, that brings us towards a little end, but I have certain things to share with you as well. What are we doing here? So yes, there is a course which is coming out by Hindu University of America, which we are going to be running. And what do we say? Learning objectives for people who in this course, students will be able to understand, learn and implement leadership principles and model as taught by Chanakya in Kautilya's Arthashastra. So that is what we will be focusing upon more, to learn, understand the leadership principles which you can use in today's time. present-day contextual references of this particular sutras is what we will be focusing upon. How will the program have a or what are the content or the structure of the program? So it will be divided into 3 parts. We'll be first focusing upon the leader, very, very, very important, the Swami whom we talk of. That is what the first part of the program will focus upon: leadership. The second part focuses on management, and third on training. This is the structure of the program that we are doing. So it's basically the program is distributed around 3 months. So every month we have one particular topic is what we cover. Based on Sir's book, Corporate Chanakya, the book is in this 12th year. That's in fact the 10th year edition, which is there in yellow, which we see. In fact, on the right-hand side, which you see the original copy of Chanakya Niti, where Sir is presenting it to Modi ji when he was the CM of Gujarat in those days. So there is a book which we'll be referring to as our reference book for this particular course that we are doing. Other Sir's book, 21 books out in the market, and most of them are bestsellers, which are there. In fact, I would say all of them are bestsellers on Chanakya management, personal life challenges, classroom challenges, I would say student challenges, which is there, different walks of life. In fact, also for kids, which we talk of as Chatur Chanakya as a series, which is also there, audio format, video format, translated into multiple languages are his books. So these are all Sir's book, which are there out in the market. There are many more in making. Then going ahead, yes, giving a little brief of what the course is about. So as we said, 12 weeks, the course is divided into 12 weeks. When we'll be running it, for people in US, Eastern Standard Time, we focus upon, so Sunday evening, 9 p.m. to 10:30 p.m. is what the scheduled class is. Every Sunday evening, we will be meeting from 9 to 10:30. In India, it will be Monday morning, 7:30 to 9. I don't know if daylight saving applies there. Pragyaji, you might have to correct me on this, because if daylight saving is in place, then it will be 6:30 to 8, if I'm right. So yes, sorry about that. It will be 6:30 to 8 as the time there, Monday morning. I love this class because for me, I start my week with a class on Chanakya with HUA, and my week has since last 6 months been going amazing. So I love Monday morning class in this context, and thank you HUA for organizing this. The lectures are 90 minutes, as you see, 60 minutes of lecture, 30 minutes of discussion, which will go on in that. And during the course, students will be required to submit 2 short essays. Someone was asking whether it be a research paper or something, but we don't expect a master level research project, but we at least expect some kind of a write-up on the program which you are attending. I think, what have you learned? How do you feel the sutras can be used in your personal life context, which is there? And that is what we'll ask you to write it down as well. The class is structured in a way to promote discussion and debate based on self-study and reflection each week. So we do that every week. We also share a case study. So there will be a case study on Kautilya Arthashastra, on Chanakya's work and present-day relevance every week, which will be shared with you for you to study that case study as well. So reading Corporate Chanakya, reading a case study, and attending the class. This is what you will be doing during the week. Apart from that, yes, there will be an examination, a multiple choice question examination on what have you learned in the program. That would be there towards the end. Who should attend? Who are the people who should look at? Any kind of people focusing on leadership. So business leaders, owners, entrepreneurs, top level management in organizations, CXOs, directors, managing directors, mid-level management aspiring to grow, people in non-profit, institution builders. I would say I really like people who call themselves institutional builders, people who really are working in that direction. There are people who are setting up gurukuls in India based on Bharatiya Shiksha Parampara, and those are the kind of people who are part of this program in the previous 2 batches. So I call them institution builders. So those are the kind of people whom probably aspire should join this program, which is there. Program starts on July 9th. Ends on September 24th. So that is the third session, third quarter, which we are doing. Course fee is $300 for this. Every Sunday in the United States, every Monday, as I said before, 6:30, this one says, right? So 6:30 is the timing. People who are doing other programs from Hindu University of America and are into accreditation, this would fetch you 1.5 credit hours as well for that. There are some marking programs. 50% is basically, this is very academic, but yes, at least 50% of marks is what is expected. So yeah, that's about us. Pragyaji, we would like to take up question answers, discuss
Sure.
a few things if there's any queries or something people want to know.
Sure. So shall we go ahead and take questions first? Yep.
Please.
So the first, are you able to check the questions, Pranavji? The first question, yeah, please.
Sure. So let me just quickly run through. Dhiren sir is saying why our history is not relevant in West. When I asked this question on Chat GPT, I love AI and I am really loving Chat GPT, especially with day before yesterday's development where it's gone live and we can use live updates on internet on the AI and it's really mind-boggling. I am one of the person who loves AI, and I would say AI is artificial intelligence, but also understand it is just additional information. Right? It is not natural. It is not our own intelligence. It's not human intelligence anywhere close to human. It's an additional information. I would say it's like a personal assistant, which is that you can ask and it can definitely throw out amazing things to you. And it's really mind-boggling the kind of things AI has been doing. But then I would say it's additional information. Give it some time. The AI will also learn more about Chanakya. I would say it's still not updated to learn as much as humans, I would say, in that context. So yeah, that's I will go on to the question there where Vinuj is asking, where can we learn more about Chanakya, his birth schooling? I would quickly, so I will answer all these academic questions and go on to throw you the other questions which are there. So yes, you can learn about Chanakya through the serial Chanakya, what Dr. Chandra Prakash Vedi's serial Chanakya. Also, you can read the book Mudra Rakshasa, based upon which the story is written, based upon which it's a drama written down, Mudra Rakshas. I would say you can read that. Apart from that, a lot of scriptures, a lot of writing work going on in present day context. There's a lot of writers writing about Chanakya, so you can definitely find about all that over there. Ask ChatGPT, what is the methodology of the course? Will we have case studies? Yeah, I've already answered that. Who was Chanakya's guru? Chanakya has definitely had a guru, but then had multiple gurus in that context. And he also addresses to them Purvacharyas. He refers to Acharyas, Purvacharyas, Acharyas before him. This was not the first Arthashastra. A lot of Arthashastras written before that as well. So Purvacharyas, whom Chanakya talks of. Apologies if we discover later could be under Arthashastra as a concept. Yes, we have covered that part of it. Dhiren sir asks, would you put this course on Coursera? Do you believe in developing app-based? Whatever Hindu University of America does, we would do that. Why is the main Hindu University of American leadership of principle? Who is the main Hindu? So yeah, Kalyanji is whom you're referring to. You can get in touch with him. I think of the movie something, Sangyo Mahato, the role, role played by Mr. Dilip Kumar portrays the right qualities of an ideal leader. All should watch it, right? So I have not seen this movie. Have you seen this movie? Sagina Mahato by Dilip Kumar. So I don't know if you want to answer this. I don't have the bandwidth. I've never seen Dilip Kumar's movie personally. So have you seen, sir? No. So sorry, Indrani ji, we will probably try and find out and watch the movie Sagino Mahato and probably also see the leadership points which come out of that. Sir has written an interesting paper on the leadership principles of James Bond and Chanakya. That's worth reading. That he had just written one day while watching the James Bond series. So yeah, that is one I would say. So if you can share it and everyone can read it sometimes. Next question. Are these books written in Sanskrit only? Is there any recommendation or text that are translated in English? A lot of them available. Original translation we use is R.P. Kangleji from Mumbai University. There is Shama Shastriji, who had also written from the Mysore Oriental Library. There is Patrick Olivelle. If you want to see a Westerner's version of Kautilya Arthashastra as translation, apart from that interpretation, you'll find a lot of them. Sir's book are one of the major source to see interpretations. But then yes, there are a lot.
Sorry to interrupt you. Can we just quickly take one poll here before you answer the question?
So that is the poll going on in all of your screen regarding the program which we spoke of. So you can put in your answers there. And yes, if you're joining in, we can ask someone from and volunteer or someone to even get in touch and discuss or take opinion about joining the program as well. So
yes,
that is,
they can always contact us at info@hua.edu. We can share our numbers as well. And my 2 cents about the course, I've been like, this course is one of the most loved courses at HUA. Great feedback. Students are extremely happy. And I would really encourage all of you, whoever is interested, to please join this course. You need any more information about the course, you can always contact us. We can, if you anything related to admissions, registrations, anything, we will just put in our email ID here, and also we will share the number.
Thank you, Prakash. And yes, all of you, please do share your feedbacks in terms of the poll, which is put up on your screen, which is there. Yeah, let me quickly go on to the next question, which is, are the books written in Sanskrit? We're done with that. In Chanakya's book, are there tips on how to follow through on the disciplines? Example, why does this go up? Okay, example, you should be focused, but how do you develop this? So there is some technical question which I would like you to answer, where the question they're saying is, in Chanakya's book, are there tips on how to follow through on the disciplines, how to focus?
Yeah, there are mentions about this in the training of a king, how to be disciplined. There's a chapter on Dinacharya, the daily timetable of a king, but it is not explained as tips. In fact, in my book, Chanakya in Daily Life, I've tackled this particular question: how do you practice this in today's generation? So directly speaking, yes, it's been mentioned, but the tips and the methodology I have explained in some of my books. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Rajeshwari ji Godbole, she has asked about, Chanakya, does other concepts existed before? In fact, Chanakya, and we sir mentioned about that. You can look at, I would say in Mahabharata, you should focus on Shanti Parva, where Bhishma Pitama teaches Yudhishthira on how to govern a kingdom. In Ramayana, you can find reference in Kashida Sarga, where Rama teaches Bharata that, I am going to the forest. As we say, chill karne ja raha hu, abhi tu chala. So where he teaches, in fact, Rama teaches Bharata, in my absence, how do you run the kingdom? So that is what, so refer to Kashida Sarga in Ramayana. There is Vidur Niti, which is there. There's Shukra Niti, which is there. A lot of concepts, all this Indian leadership model. I would say there is a scope, which in fact, Mumbai University runs a 2 years masters in leadership program, where all this leadership principle from different Indian texts are being touched upon, focusing on Indian business, Indian leadership model. Is that course which I would say out there. So yes, there are a lot of concepts which is there, Ramayana, Mahabharata. We can just go on and on. There's a lot many more. So there is a reference to Manu, there is reference to Bruhaspati, there is a reference to Ushanas, there is reference to different gurus and acharyas, I would say, in Arthashastra. You can look at that. You can refer to Arthashastra and look at Purvacharyas, whom Kautilya refers to. Going on to next, in Chanakya's book, are the tips? We are done with that. Does Arthashastra consider to be Purva Paksha approach? So again, yes, it is Purva Paksha approach. So out of the 9 Indian philosophy, when we're talking of Purva Paksha, we're talking of more from the point of view that logic or reasoning, which does it focus on? Yes, Purva Paksha. Sir, a few thoughts on that, please.
In fact, in our Shastras, including Arthashastra, we take 3 approaches: Purva Paksha, Uttara Paksha, and Para Paksha. Purva Paksha means Purvacharyas. Uttara Paksha means the new one. For example, if I'm debating with a young boy who's talking about, let's say, AI and Chat GPT, I should be ready for it, right? So I can't be glorifying the past only. So one is Purva Paksha, the past Acharyas, Uttara Paksha, which is the current perspective, but Para Paksha, the opposite viewpoint. Now that's where Chanakya becomes very rich. So every topic has been discussed and debated from multiple dimensions. But yes, you are right. The major part is Purva Paksha. We just saw about Shukracharya and Brahaspati just to begin with. But it goes on and on and on. And Chanakya himself is very clear. This is my view. There is one confusion. When you listen to so many views, you actually get confused. But in Chanakya's case, after so many perspectives, he gets clarity. Perspective should not give you confusion. It should give you clarity for action. It should give you clarity for action, because it's not just about having seminars, right? What is the action plan? In fact, it's very clear that leader should have meetings and viewpoints to take the society forward. So just having good thoughts is not enough. So Purva Paksha, Uttara Paksha, Para Paksha, Mama Paksha. That's very important. Mama Paksha is also there. What is my viewpoint? And then how do I put into action? Very rich source of Nyaya Darshana we have. And Chanakya uses that methodology as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Yes, Nyaya Darshana, which you're talking about, Purva Paksha, so logic, Indian logic systems, which we are talking about out here. Going quickly, next question. We're running out of time, but then I'll read through the questions. Could we say Bhagavad Gita is looking inwards, internal happiness, responsible, and Arthashastra is managing external? Well, Arthashastra is a holistic book. It definitely goes into internal. First, Anvikshiki Trayartha Dandani. Anvikshiki is where Arthashastra starts from. So inside out first, and then understanding the outside in. So first, inside out has to be the first one always. And first 6 books focus on inside out. Approach from an organization point of view, I would say, which is there. So that is what I would quickly answer that. What qualifications do we achieve with the Chanakya course, and does this is complete? What's the next step? So yeah, you will get a certificate from Hindu University of America on doing this course. Also, you can get credits if you're doing other courses, and also can go to the larger postgraduate programs. You can check out Hindu University's website, or also get in touch with any of the representatives to get you more idea into the credit system, how we can use that. Next question, does Arthashastra, that's done. We speak of Hindu wisdom, knowledge. I'm not going to answer questions if this is added after the Manoj's question. So next thing, are this principle taken inspiration from the Bhagavad Gita? Yes, definitely. Yes, Bhagavad Gita is being covered in Kautilya's Arthashastra. Chanakya does talk of those philosophical level on that, but sir, Bhagavad Gita and Arthashastra. Interesting questions. Your thoughts?
But there are a lot. Thank you, Professor. There's a lot of concepts that you find from Bhagavad Gita into Arthashastra. For example, Sankhya and Yoga. Anvishki starts with Sankhya Yoga Lokayata. So yes, Sankhya Yoga is very much the base of Bhagavad Gita, which Chanakya speaks about. Yoga Darshan, but very important. Remember the context. Bhagavad Gita was taught for a warrior in the battlefield. A warrior in the battlefield, and Chanakya is also preparing for a war. So 9 books out of 15 books are on warfare. So preparing the mind of the warrior and the leader is what both Bhagavad Gita and Arthashastra does, philosophically and strategically. Thank you.
We have Ayush Rakesh, his hand up. Let us take one more.
Sure.
Sure.
Ayushi, if you can unmute yourself, please. You've raised your hand. So.
Ayush, if you have a question, please unmute yourself and
we can go on to someone else if they have raised their hand, Pragyaji.
no, nobody else.
All right, so I'll then there is one question which is there in the chat box, which says, what will teach in course? So this, what will you teach in this course? As I said, that in 3 parts, from more leadership, management, and training perspective. So 3 perspectives what we'll be covering in Kautilya Arthashastra, as structured, as indexed by sir in Corporate Chanakya. So that is what our focus book will be for this course. Chanakya Niti and Arthashastra become famous more than Vidur Niti and Shanti Parva. I mean, we all have got to know about Chanakya first. That is the only reason I would say it has got more famous. Otherwise, there are more richer texts. Which is there. I tell a lot of times to people from the West, the amount of content which the Western philosophy has. That's the size of the index of Indian philosophy. So that's how wide and rich Indian philosophy is. So I would say Shanti Parva, Vidur Niti, all that, because it is not, we have not been exposed to it, is not famous. Otherwise, it is definitely super relevant thoughts and ideas there. You should study. Which book could you? What could be the reason? This is the reason I said. Could you share the name of the book? Vidur Niti comes in from Mahabharata. Shanti Parva also Mahabharata. So you can need to refer to Mahabharata in that context. Also Ramayana, as I said, to get the context in that. Next, sir, what does Acharya Chanakya say about free market taxation policies and policies to promote India? definitely Chanakya was, I would say, he was a capitalist socialist in the way he worked, and his approach was he was capitalist to grow the markets, but socialist when it came to welfare of the people. The state intervention happened as and when it was just required. Otherwise, the markets were given a free hand. But as we always put it, Chanakya believed in governance, governing, regulating the market, then basically stopping the market or controlling the market. So regulating or controlling is what Chanakya's approach is, from the taxation policy and free market policy. Taxation policy, ease of doing business comes in there. Taxation policy, India is moving into that. We're trying one tax for corporates. Now slowly we are also moving in the direction where we have the new taxation policy. No exemptions, nothing but straight, no this tag, that tag, either bachao, udhar bachao, nothing. Straightforward taxation policy is what we are moving into as India. So this is definitely coming in, as Chanakya has spoken in Arthashastra as well. And then policies to promote trade, definitely trade and promote India and trade in that context. So definitely, yes, he is called the economist who worked on creating trade. So that is what is about. Does Chanakya say anything about how to keep the king on the righteous path? So how to keep the king on the righteous path? Some thoughts on that.
Yes, of course. In fact, the ideal king for Chanakya is called Raja Rishi. So he makes the king think like a rishi. And the word dharma comes in Arthashastra 150 times. If you don't understand dharma, you never understand artha. And there is a concept called Rajadanda. So nobody is bigger than the king. No, dharma is bigger than the king. So dharma, ethics, morality, everything is covered for the Raja and leadership by Chanakya. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. That
We
brings
have a question here. Who will be teaching the course?
Dr. Pillai.
Yeah, he's asking who will be teaching the course in the chat box.
Myself and Dr. Pillai will be in the program.
So you have a double advantage. 2 teachers in one course. In fact, there's a joke. One person went for honeymoon and he went alone. And somebody asked him, why did you go alone? Because I got 50% discount. In this case, you get 2 teachers in one fees. Thank you.
So thank you so much, Dr. Pillai and Pranavji, for this really enlightening and entertaining webinar. I'm sure that people have really enjoyed, and we will expect lots and lots of people joining this course. Take the registrations, and whoever is still on the webinar, please, if you have any questions or anything related to registrations, admission course, we will get in touch with you through emails. You will get a webinar recording, and if you have anything, you can always get in touch with us. Ankur, and thank you, Ankur, for all the support.
Thank you, Pragyaji. Thank you, everyone.
Can we close this now?
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you. It was a pleasure hosting you all. Thank you so much. Namaste.